It's time for the One Bar and Lupagus Show, bringing you anything and everything Minnesota Vikings. Welcome to professional football.
Hello again, and welcome back to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. I am Lupagus, and today we are going to conclude our training camp battle series and talk about the offensive line. Before we get in that, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like our vids. We are slowly working our way up, getting closer and closer to 700 subscribers. Man, it's exciting times. And it's exciting times because training camp is in full effect on Tuesday. Yeah, things are getting real exciting around these Vikings parts these days. All right, so let's talk the Vikings offensive line as we look at it heading into training camp 2020. And before we get into this year's roster and who might make the team, who might not, let's just look back at last year. They kept 10 offensive linemen, 4 tackles, 4 guards, and 2 centers. So let's use that as our base, and we'll work off that number for this year. So we'll just briefly go over the entire depth chart right now as it stands today. Left tackle, you got Riley Reif, Ezra Cleveland. We'll go left to right. So left guard, Pat Elflein, Alviante Collins, Tyler Higbee. Centers, you got Garrett Bradbury, Pat Elflein, Brett Jones, Jake Lucina. Right guard, Dakota Dozier, Drew Samia, Kyle Hinton, and Brady Aiello. And at right tackle, you have the great Brian O'Neill, Rashad Hill backing him up, Oli Udo, and Blake Brandel, the 7th or late 6th round pick, whatever the heck he was. All right, so of those guys, let's just do a quick elimination game here. Blake Brandel, practice squad material at best. Brady Aiello at best, practice squad. Let's see, Tyler Higbee, practice squad or cut. Alviante Collins is probably going to be cut. So those are the guys I think are going to be gonzo for sure. Here's the question. Now let's look at our left tackle. So Riley Reif's probably going to be your starter, unless Ezra Cleveland can surprise and look ready to go from day one. I think it's going to be Riley Reif at left tackle with Ezra Cleveland backing him up. Right tackle, Brian O'Neill obviously is going to be the starter. He's one of the best in the league. You got Rashad Hill there, who will be his primary backup. The guy to watch here is Oli Udo. If he shows something in camp, if he emerges or has progressed over the offseason, he could actually compete for the primary backup spot to both those guys. And he may look to play inside too at guard. So who the Vikings end up keeping, especially this tackle position, some of these guys, Ezra Cleveland's been talked to move inside, so a couple of these guys could provide some position flexibility, play inside or outside, which kind of helps the Vikings, keeping one guy who can fill 2 spots. So when it comes to the tackles, I think they're going to keep actually 5 this year. I think it's going to be Riley Reif, Ezra Cleveland, Brian O'Neill, Oli Udo, and Rashad Hill. And Udo and Cleveland kind of give you that flexibility to play some guards, so they're actually filling 2 roles there. Let's go to center too, because center isn't the most exciting position either. Obviously, you have Garrett Bradbury as you're locked in as your starter in year 2. The Vikings will hope he can anchor a little better against the pass rush. He did get destroyed plenty of times last year. He's a pretty good run blocker. He can get down to the second level in a hurry. He can move outside in a hurry. It's just that pass protection where he needs to improve his game. And supposedly he spent all offseason in the weight room getting stronger, getting buff. So hopefully we see that, and he's not destroyed by those big old beefy boys in the middle, Kenny Clark, Shelby Harris's, guys like that who just owned him last year. Even Nick Williams from the Bears got the best of Garrett Bradbury last year. Whether you like it or not, Pat Elflein is probably going to be his primary backup. He can be kept as a guard, and then your backup center. As bad as Elflein has been, he's an experienced backup, and you can put him there in a pinch if you had to. If Bradbury gets hurt during a game or is out for a couple weeks, you could do worse than having Pat Elflein. When it comes to center, the one position I think that's up for grabs is going to be the backup. Elflein might make it as a guard. So then you have one backup center. Is it going to be Brett Bush Jones, who for some reason the Vikings keep keeping, or is it going to be Jake Lucina, the undrafted rookie? And we're not just putting Jake Lucina in here because his dad was Corbin and is a former Viking. This guy is a very experienced center at the D2 level. He won whatever the hell trophy, Remington Trophy for the best interior offensive lineman in D2. So he's a talented player, very experienced. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if he actually made the team. I think in a real and true preseason where they would have had OTAs and mini camps, his chances would be much higher. But right now, Bush Jones gives you nothing. So if it becomes down to those two and Lucina actually looks good some practices, I wouldn't be surprised if Vikings went with the young guy. Every year, an undrafted rookie makes this team, and it could be Jake Lucina's year to do that. So I think they'll end up keeping 2 actual centers because, again, I'm putting Elflein at guard. So Bradbury, I'm going to give to Jake Lucina as your two centers this year. But I think Lucina Jones, that's the battle to watch when it comes to centers. I know everybody will be keeping a close eye on the backup center position because it's always one of the most exciting battles every year in camp. All right, let's move on to guards because this is where it should really be a complete free-for-all, a battle royale, a Royal Rumble, however you want to put it. Let's just weigh the odds. The favorites, I think, to start right now will be Pat Elflein, Drew Samia. Either way, I'm pretty sure they're both locks to make the team. Dakota Dozier, he's making the team. You know, he can play some tackle in a pinch. He got some playing time last year. He seems to be a little bit better when he comes in off the bench rather than when he starts, but he did start a handful of games last year because Josh Klein was injured. Again, he's probably a little bit below average when it comes to a starter, but you could be worse. Just the overall question is that whether it's Elflein and Samia starting, Elflein's been horrible, Samia's inexperienced, so it's going to be a major question mark till these guys can actually go out there and prove their worth and show that they're, in Elflein's case, better, and in Samia's case, worth the 4th-round pick that he was a year ago. All right, so those 2 are in, those 3 are in. So it's basically if they keep 4 like they did last year, and you have Cleveland and Udo as your tackles, who can play guard too, then there's really only 1 spot left. That spot will come down to Aviante Collins and Kyle Hinton, and that's pretty much it. Collins, he's had some moments where he's looked okay, but then he always seems to get hurt. So, I know Kyle Hinton's a D2 guy, but he was pretty impressive at that level, dominant at that level, which you have to do if you're going to get drafted, and he did. My fear with Kyle Hinton is that the Vikings let him go at the end of camp. Somebody else will come up and snap him up, and he won't make it to your practice squad. So perhaps if the Vikings, if they do keep a 4th guard, it would be Kyle Hinton as a true guard. But with Udo and Cleveland both having the ability to play inside, they might try to sneak him through onto the practice squad. So when it's all said and done, I think it actually is going to probably be 5 tackles, Reef, Cleveland, O'Neal, Udo, Hill, 3 guards, Samia, Elflein, Dozier, and then your centers, which is going to be Bradbury and maybe Lucina. Otherwise, if they don't keep the 2 centers and just assume Elflein's the backup, then maybe Kyle Hinton squeaks in as your 4th guard. But that's going to be the question. That's the battle to watch. Just those really deep spots, and then really who is going to end up emerging as the starting guards, because I think right now it's completely up in the air. So when it comes to guard, it's actually probably the key battle to watch in camp this year, and to watch closely whatever we're getting for these practice recaps. Whoever is the main source of that, I don't know how many guys you're going to be allowed to come in and watch and report on it. It might only be 1 or 2 sources, but when those come out, to see how these guards are doing is going to be key for the Vikings. Their run game, their offense in general, Kirk Cousins' health. These guys have to step up and look good, and it's got to happen early in camp, and you got to keep rolling with it and getting better every single day. So, all right, that's it. Training camp battles are done. Let's see what happens this week with training camp. I am pumped, and I'm sure you are too.